Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of The Probe. Research conducted by the National Communications Authority and the Ghana Statistical Service revealed that 54.1% of individuals aged 5 years and older own a mobile phone. On average, ownership of mobile phones nationwide is higher among males, 56.0%, relative to females, 52.4%. The regional distribution of mobile phone ownership in Ghana, with individuals 5 years and older, the ownership of mobile phone is highest in the Greater Accra region. We have 73.7% and lowest in Upper West region, which is 36.3%. Well, another research has revealed that as of January 2021, there were 41.69 million mobile connections in Ghana. The number increased by 3.1 million, that's plus 8.1% between January 2020 and January 2021. So the number of mobile connections in Ghana in January 2021 was equivalent to 132.8% of the total population. So all these numbers are required to re-register in accordance with the Subscriber Identification Model Registration Regulations 2011, LI 2006. So a number of reasons have been cited by the National Communications Authority, and tonight we probe these reasons right here on the Joy News channel. We are on Joy Prime, Joy 99.7 FM, and a dozen affiliates across the country. On DSTV, you can find us on channel 421, GoTV is 144, as well as all our social media platforms. It's a good time to send in your questions. So most of you have sent them already, and we'll get answers from Mrs. Nana Defie Badu, Director, Corporate Affairs of the National Communications Authority. She's my guest tonight. A quick turnaround, and we'll get talking. Thanks for staying with us. These are questions that many of you are asking. Why do we have to re-register, amongst others? Tonight, you get to ask all the questions. So this evening, we'll get straight into the questions. Once I've introduced Mrs. Nana Defie Badu, the Director, Corporate Affairs of the National Communications Authority. Thank you so much for finally joining us in the studios. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you very much for having us today.
How's the NCA doing?
Not bad.
You're doing well. We're ready. 1st October, we started. We're supposed to be re-registering all SIM cards, right?
Yes.
So far, do we know how many people have registered?
We are going to get a number tomorrow from the MNOs. And unofficially, we do know that quite a number of people have completed the first stage of registration. The MNOs are going to send the information to us tomorrow morning so we can see the rates of compliance or rates of links and registrations by the subscribers.
So with the first stage, the numbers you're getting encouraging?
Well, as I said, we don't have the official figures. Unofficially, I do know that the numbers are encouraging. And from the monitoring we've done on social media and some spot checks, we do know that people have actually begun doing it.
Okay, we'll get straight into the questions because these are audience-based questions. A number of them have sent the questions ahead. So we'll start with Ebo's question. It says, why do subscribers have to go to their telecom operator for a biometric verification when the Ghana card itself has the biometric details of those who have registered? That's a Bo's question. We'll take a few, then we get into it. And Ofori Michael is asking, one of the biggest questions on the minds of many is why we have to necessarily undergo this ritual of SIM card re-registration. Why is it necessary at all? And this one, if they are fake SIM cards, what's the doing of those millions of us who are registered legitimately? Shouldn't the telcos be asked to identify and block these fake cards, he asks. We'll take the final one for this batch. Exactly how will the national ID card being the sole identity requirement for a re-registration of all SIM cards prevent the infiltration of fakes? So we'll take answers to this first batch of questions, and then we can take more. I'd like to start with Ofori Michael's question, which will set the pace for everything. It says one of the biggest questions on the minds of many is why we have to necessarily undergo this entire process.
Okay, so let me just categorize it into 3 key benefits why we are doing this registration process. For consumers or for subscribers, let me just say that for them, it's necessary for them to register their SIM cards to stay connected and make sure that they're able to receive the communication services, and also to secure their own SIM-based transactions. For the regulator, it helps us to be able to develop a SIM database with integrity. We also want to be able to boost and build some security regarding services which are based on the use of communication services. It will give operators the chance to know the exact subscribers that they have and be able to develop services around those demographic groups. And then it will help us as a regulator to develop and then regulate the industry even better. But I think most importantly, all these things feed into government's agenda, right? Because for government, one of the key things that government is looking at doing is to curb fraudulent and criminal activities and also to enhance economic growth within the country. We know that the SIM card is one of the single point of access to communication services. Now you get consumers actually using the SIM cards or communication services to access e-government services and even private services. So once you have a SIM database that actually has integrity and you have trust in that database, then you know you can build your economic activities around it. And last but not the least, it will help with regards to financial inclusion, especially for those within the vulnerable groups of society. So these are all the reasons why we actually need to do the SIM re-registration process.
Okay, so the concern, at least one thing runs through, that this is not the first time that we are registering our SIM cards. How is it that we have to do it again? All that you've mentioned, is it that you don't have that kind of data for that to happen already?
Okay, so let me just clarify. A lot of people think that we keep on doing the same registration exercise over and over again. The government has only embarked on one previous national SIM registration exercise, and that was in 2010-2011, right? And then that SIM registration exercise actually complied with the subscriber identity module registration regulations, which was passed in 2011. Yes. And what that regulation said was that it actually listed the IDs that subscribers could use to register the SIM cards. We had the passports, the DVLA, any national ID. The only point or the only problem that we had with that registration was that there was no verification then. There was no verification, so people could actually access other people's ID cards and use it to register the SIM cards. And so you could see that as we went on and on, the whole database actually was not very, should I say, strong and very secure. We have court orders coming from the police asking for people who are criminals who are actually using certain numbers to commit crime. You go and then you realize that you have a Kofi Mensah with some fictitious ID numbers who has registered a SIM card. So this is actually really necessary, and this is just one of the reasons why we're doing the SIM registration again.
Okay, so there was one without a name. Exactly how will the national ID card, being the sole identity requirement for this re-registration, prevent the infiltration of fakes? Because that was one of the reasons that you gave. So why the national ID card? Okay,
in 2012, the National ID regulations was also passed in 2012. And the National ID regulations stated that the Ghana card or the National ID card was the ID to be used for SIM registration. The benefit of using the Ghana card is that it actually captured the biometric details of individuals, of Ghanaians. And it's interesting to know that it is not only Ghanaians who can actually register for the Ghana card. You have foreigners who are resident in Ghana who can also register for the non-citizen ID card. So this SIM registration is actually just seeking to comply with what the law says.
Okay. Well, this verification we talk about, the passport doesn't give you that?
Well, the law says that it is the Ghana card that should be used for the SIM registration. Okay. The passport, that's a foreigner's passport, will actually be used for the registration for foreigners who are visiting Ghana for a period of less than 3 months.
Okay. So there was a question also that says that if there are fake SIM cards in the system, how is it the doing of those millions of us who registered earlier legitimately? Shouldn't the telcos be asked to identify and block these fake cards in the system?
Yes, we are working together, and the telcos also need people to be able to register their SIM cards and register it correctly with the correct documents, because they use these SIM cards for other services apart from just communication services. And they've been a very incredible partner in what they are doing, in what we are doing now with regards to the SIM registration. Some SIM cards have also been passed on from users to users, and I'm sure now they may have even have lost track of those who even registered. We've also had this problem of pre-registered SIM cards that some unscrupulous people were also doing. So there's actually an opportunity for us to clean the slate and start all over again.
But the telcos as it stands now, do they have the capacity to weed out these fake cards?
We are starting out on a clean slate. So what is happening is that every SIM card is going to be registered once you have the ID that has been prescribed for you.
Okay, so Ebo started off with why subscribers have to now still go to the telecom operator for a biometric verification when the Ghana card itself has the biometric details of those who have registered.
Okay, that's a very important question, and I'm very glad that he asked this question. People are asking why. So I'm sure people have noticed that with the SIM card registration, we actually have two phases or two stages. With the first stage, you stay in the comfort of your home and you follow certain steps, and then you link your Ghana card to your SIM card. Now, people should also realize that it is possible for somebody to access your Ghana card without your knowledge and actually register a SIM in your name without your knowledge. So to go further, we built this layer, kind of like a two-factor authentication process, where we actually check to verify that the person who is actually using this Ghana card to register for the SIM card is the same person. And so that is why it is important for us to do the second stage, which is a biometric capture.
Okay, but the concern is the Ghana card has it already.
Yes.
Is it not enough?
Yes, but you do know that the telecom operators do not have access into the, if as it were, the database of the NIA. The first stage, what you do is that you just send your Ghana card PIN, your name, your date of birth, and it goes via USSD. It hits their server, and they come back and say, yes, this Ghana card is with us. But how do I know that MFA hasn't taken my Ghana card to register a SIM card in my name? Okay. So that's why we've said that then MFA then needs to go to the service provider, and then we take her biometrics to make sure that it really is this person who used this Ghana card to register. Okay,
so there were a number of concerns as to people going through the first stage and not being able to complete it. I'm sure it will come up in the questions because some of them sent it earlier. But it's a good time to get into the next part of questions, and then we can get some answers. So that's Ebo. We've already taken that. So we'll go on Facebook now. Akuma Glo Joseph, please ask her to tell us the use of the stage 2 in the SIM card registration process, going to the office. So it came up earlier. You've been responding to that. We'll go to the next one. Okay, so do we have the next part of okay? So Nene Theophilos Ike Tete Tokoli says, my question to your guest is that why is consideration not being made for the Ghanaian passport to be used? Some of us queued and registered for the national ID card, but are being told our names are not in the system. I strongly believe the other alternative document to use should be the Ghanaian passport, which is more authentic. Professor Dr. P.H. Newlands Francis says, thanks for this sensitive program. Please, our people need to be proactive by making sure all districts and municipalities have NIA offices for the population to get the Ghana card for effective SIM card registration. We are still within the COVID-19 pandemic, and it is not safe for people to travel to NIA HQ for their Ghana cards. We need decentralization of NIA offices for effective public health system strengthening. Nicholas says, please tell her to check the kind of service the telcos are giving to Ghanaians. That's Nicholas's question. So we take responses to this batch as well. So Prof is raising concerns about going to queue at the offices. We're still in a pandemic. Has that been considered?
Yes, NIA, or National Identification Authority, is actually one of the partners in this re-registration exercise for the SIM. And I don't work with them, but I can tell you what they are doing. And I think even on Friday, their chief executive also had a radio interview to address some of these questions. What I do know is that the NIA has actually opened up offices and is still in the process of opening up regional and district offices across the countries. A number of people, we also know, registered for the Ghana card, but did not go and get their Ghana card, and it is important for them to be able to do so. There was a question where somebody asked why it's not possible for us to use the Ghanaian passport to be able to do the registration. Yes, that was what we were doing previously, but the law actually now requires us that we use the SIM, the Ghana card to register for our SIMs. So we are only complying with the law.
Well, so if you don't have a Ghana card, there's no way you can register your SIM.
Yes, so you definitely have to make sure that you have to get your Ghana card. I do know that a lot of Ghana cards are with the NIA offices, and I encourage people to go there and make sure that they get their Ghana cards.
Okay, well, so we're doing this till March 2022?
Yes.
2022. Why such a long period?
Because, you know, we can't rush this, especially within the COVID pandemic. And we also need to be able to educate people and let people know the process. The public education has taken off very well. We're also going to go into the regions and then let people understand the need for them to be able to do this. And we can't actually rush this. The beauty about this exercise is that it's been designed in such a way to sort of, as it were, reduce any issues that could create the situations where we'll spread the COVID. The first stage, you do it in the comfort of your home. Even in the second stage of the registration exercise, some MNOs have actually sent text messages to their subscribers telling them that they will be scheduled to come in for their biometric registration. And when you do go there, there's no contact with the person. The only contact you have is when you present your Ghana card to the agent for the agent to be able to take those details. And they've also trained their agents to make sure that they sanitize the cards before it's given back to them. So we're actually trying very hard not to contain this within a short period and spread it out for people to be able to register the cards.
Okay, so Nicholas takes us to the issue about service that is being provided by these telecom operators, asking that you check that. Is there really a plan in place? Is there anything really that we're doing about this situation?
Yes, the NCA conducts regular quality of service monitoring, and we will not be able to tell where people really are having poor quality of service unless they reach us. And we encourage people to reach out to the NCA and let us know that I'm in this area, this is what I'm facing with regards to my quality of service. And once you tell us, we will actually send our monitoring team to go there, and we do what we call a quality of service that simulates the consumer experience to find out if indeed the service quality has gone down. And then we engage the telco to pick it up.
Over the period, are you getting a number of complaints, for instance?
We do get a lot of complaints at the NCA, and it ranges from quite a number of issues, and including the quality of service. Where we have issues on quality of service, the mobile network operator is always engaged to make sure that they improve the service over there. For some people too, it sometimes also even has to do with the type of phone they are using. Yes, and so we have to get a lot of details from them. What kind of phone are you using? Which area are you? And probably they may not even be within the areas where the telcos are mandated to provide service. So those are some of the issues that affect quality of service.
How accessible is the NCA to the consumer, for instance, for us to be able to bring to your attention how the kind of services that we're getting from these telcos? The
NCA is extremely accessible. People can reach us on our toll-free number, which is 0800 110 622, and this is toll-free. And our toll-free numbers are available. You can call us. Currently, because of the SIM registration, is available every day of the week.
Okay. Yes. Well, so for us, you'd say that we have instances where people have reported these networks to you, and really something has happened in terms of sanctions of a sort?
Yes, I'd like to say that our first go-to really is not with sanctions. We like to work with the telco and make sure that the issue is resolved so that the consumer can use the service. It is when we go beyond that that we realize that there are certain issues that the service provider is really not resolving before we go into the issues of sanction. But first and foremost, our aim is to make sure that, the service is available for the consumer to use.
Okay. So, Nicholas, if you're satisfied, I'm sure this is what has been done by the NCA when it comes to the poor quality service that you talk about. But we'll get into another batch of questions. I see Elton's questions. Why do we keep burdening Ghanaians every now and then with SIM card registration and re-registration? Are there no innovative means to deal with the challenges that necessitates these registrations?
I mentioned it earlier on that we've only had one national SIM registration exercise, and this is the second one. This has actually been long in coming because we have tried to make sure that we are resolving all the issues and addressing all the gaps that occurred with the last SIM registration exercise, so that we don't come back to the consumer and tell the consumer that, hey, go and do another registration exercise. So is it Elvis? Elvis, please, Elton, please be sure that we will not come back to you once we make sure that we do this correctly.
So it appears there's no turning back at this point. Once October 1 came and met us at this point, there's no turning back.
There is no
You have
turning
to register.
You have to register.
Okay. So once it ends, the period that we've been giving is a long period. Once it ends, what happens?
I wouldn't want to be speculative at this time. I am actually extremely pleased with the rate at which I see people doing the star 404 and then trying to register their SIM cards. And I'm sure that even before we get to the deadline, a lot of people would have registered. And then again, as any project goes, we still do the monitoring and evaluation, and it feeds back into the project cycle. So as we go along, we will see issues that will come up. We'll try and address these issues and then make sure that everything is checked off before we reach the deadline of 31st March 2022. If by then we get there and we still have major issues, which I'm hoping we do not have, and I do trust that we will not have, I'm sure that we will be able to get a directive that says yes, go or no go.
But in your interaction with all the telcos, the time frame that they've been giving is enough for them to be able to cater for all their customers before the deadline?
Yes, we've been working with them over a period of 2 to 3 years, but for the last 7 or so months, it's been very intensive as we've been working towards this time frame of 6 months. That's why we've tried to put in place a process where people are supposed to start the registration exercise from home before they go to the telcos. So we've been working with them throughout before coming up on 1st October.
Will I lose my number if I don't register by March 2021?
I sincerely hope you will register before March 31st March 2022.
But if I'm not able to?
If you're not able to do it, the SIM regulation says that the telcos should only make sure that numbers that are registered by the law are those numbers that are activated on the network.
So it will be deactivated?
Well, that is what the law is saying.
Okay, well, let's get into another batch of questions at this point, if we have. So, Ofuswa Samoa says, I've heard government talk about the need to do this to weed out unregistered SIM cards used to perpetrate fraud. Isn't it the responsibility of the telcos to flush out such cards? We'll be speaking to that. Sylvia says, why the insistence on Ghana card when there are other official documents like passport and voter IDs that can be used? People still have concerns as to why the Ghana card. And how do you intend to deal with possible fakes in the near future? Will we be asked to re-register again? Xavier says, what is the guarantee that after forcing Ghanaians to register again, in the next few years down the line, we will not be asked to register again? Nati says, what happens to Ghanaians residing abroad with Ghana SIMs who are unable to access Ghana cards? Okay, so maybe we take from Nati's question that's new. So there are Ghanaians out there who still have their SIM cards with them that they're using. What happens? How do they go about this?
Okay, so it's actually a very important point for us. A number of Ghanaians actually have linked their SIM cards to various services, including their banking services and other things. And we've realized that we have quite a considerable number of Ghanaians outside who are using the Ghana card. We have people on peacekeeping duties outside. We have people on the diplomatic service using Ghanaian SIM cards. What we are trying to do is to come up with the modalities that would enable them to be able to register their SIM cards from wherever they are. The catch here is that the law says, and I'm reading from the National ID regulations, it says the mandatory use of the National ID card. It says, if you look at the regulation, 7 sub-regulation 1L, the mandatory use of the National ID card should be for the SIM, registration of SIM cards. So we're trying to find out what exactly we can do with regards to these people who are outside Ghana and using these SIM cards. And I'm sure within the next few days, you will hear some modalities being issued by the NCA to deal with this.
Okay, so we are yet to tell them what to do exactly, those out there.
Those out there. We know that a number of them have actually been able to link their Ghana cards to their SIM cards. And I was actually impressed. And we've had a few queries from them that they've done the first stage. how would they be able to do the second stage? And so we will come out with modalities that will address that.
Okay, so there's no clear modality just yet for those residing outside
Yes, especially for those who do not have the Ghana card. That is one flashpoint that we are looking at.
Yeah. So if you're able to give some kind of concession for these people out there who don't have Ghana cards, would it not open the floodgates for us also to say that, okay, if they are not going to use Ghana cards, you should give us that?
That is why I didn't use the word concession. Okay. And that is why I also referred to the mandatory use of the national ID card. So modalities will come out. I'm not sure that there will be concessions, because this time, and as the other previous people asked, they want to know, they want to be assured that going forward, they are not asked to register their SIM cards again. So once you start giving concessions, then you're opening the door, as you said, for more concessions. And then before you know it, we've messed it all up again, and we have to go back and do a registration. So modalities will come out, but we are sure that we will be complying strictly with the law. And
we are sure that this is the sure way to deal with the fake SIM cards in the system, those who use it for fraudulent activities, because the concern is that how sure are we that at some point we'll get some fakes in the system again, then we'll be asked to re-register?
Okay, so number one, you're actually linking your SIM card to the Ghana card. And secondly, we are not stopping there. We are going ahead to take the biometric details of the subscribers and making sure that these are the people who are registering the SIM cards and linking it to the Ghana card. So that in itself is a huge, how do you call it, way to be able to weed out these people. And going forward, even the national ID regulations in 9 says that if we even suspect that there is a crime, you can actually pull out the biometric details to check. And so we are sure that we are going to come out with all these people who are using these cards for fraudulent or criminal activities. I'm not sure that they are fake SIM cards. All SIM cards are issued by the telcos, but it is the user who decides that he or she is going to use it for fraudulent or criminal activities.
Okay, so the issue is that, okay, so we did it in 2010, at least we've done it just once. We're doing it again in 2021. They need guarantees that it won't come to another point, another 10 years or so, then we'll have to go back to re-registering.
Again, that's why I'm saying that we actually looked at it very well and came up with this 2-step or 2-stage process to make sure that we are able to verify that this person A, who has linked his Ghana card to his SIM card, is the same person whose biometric details we have taken. So we are able to weed out all the bad nuts from the system. And of course, for people who have pre-registered SIM cards that were not properly or validly registered, who are now going to go through this, the telcos have processes to enable them verify that, yes, I used to use the SIM card. And once you are able to meet those checks that the MNO asks you, then you can be asked to use that SIM card or register that SIM card in your name.
So in this instance that I've registered for the Ghana card, there was a mistake in terms of my name on the Ghana card. I'm using it and I use it to register for my SIM, and then maybe later I go change my name on the Ghana card. What happens? Would it automatically change? What happens?
Okay, what I do know is that the NIA requires that if there's a mistake on your name, I think you have to go through some legal process and go back to the NIA for them to correct the name on the card for you. But you also have responsibilities as a consumer to make sure that you are using the right document to register your SIM card and that you are not using the fake document. If you used a Ghana card which has the wrong spelling of your name to register for a SIM card and you later go and change it, the SIM regulation says that you have a responsibility to inform your service provider and make that change so that it is captured accordingly in the database.
So after I change the name, I still have to go back to
Yes, you do have to go back to your service provider and update them with the details.
Okay. Well, at some point, we'll activate the phone lines so that you can also join and then ask your questions directly. But as an individual, let's start with Ghanaians. How many SIM cards can I register?
Okay. So for Ghanaians can register a total of 10 SIM cards across the networks. You can decide to register all the 10 SIM cards from network A or B, or decide to have 222, whichever number you have, but 10 SIM cards for Ghanaians across all the networks. And for visiting foreigners, they have a limit of 3 SIM cards that they can register across the networks. Now, for businesses, we know that some businesses actually use a lot of numbers for their work, sales, marketing, and all that. And so there's actually loan limits for businesses when it comes to SIM card registration. The point here is that for businesses, and as required by the NI regulation, each SIM card has to be registered with the national ID. So the businesses would have to go through some kind of due diligence at the MNOs, make sure, and the MNOs will again engage with the Registrar General's Department to make sure that, yes, this business is a valid business that is in existence, the documentation is right, and then those SIM cards will be linked to the Ghana card of a listed director of the business. So again, every SIM card will be linked to the Ghana card of someone. So that's how we are going to manage the process.
Okay, so this business is both local and foreign, like businesses, they all
every
entitled
business
to that.
in Ghana is actually registered.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so why does an individual need 10 SIM cards registered in their name?
Well,
up to 10.
Well, we have realized that, especially from last year when the pandemic occurred, a lot more people got a lot more communication devices and services. Some were using it for working from home for educational purposes and all that. And with the increase of IoT, Internet of Things, people are using these SIM cards also for their security cameras, for tracking and all that. So we need to actually expand it to give people the opportunity and not to block access to communication services.
Okay. We can't get more than 10?
For now, I think people only have a limit of 10.
Okay, but at some point,
well,
you get more.
It will be very difficult, and I think that like I said, we will keep on monitoring and evaluating the process to see if there is a need to be able to change anything. But I do know that I think 10, we've done a lot of benchmarking, and I do know that 10 is a number that has been said. Just our neighbors across our border gives 1 SIM card per operator.
Okay, so this is for Ghanaians.
This
How
is
about
for
non-Ghanaians?
So like I said, for non-Ghanaians, if you're a visiting foreigner, you have a limit of 3 SIM cards to register across all networks. But if you're a foreigner who is resident in Ghana, you have your non-citizen ID card, you also have a limit of 10 SIM cards across the networks.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Once you have the ID card and you are a foreigner, you can still get it. Okay. Well, we have more questions. Let's go through them. Paul Dax says, ask her, what's the point of going to the office for fingerprint and capture after registering through the *404 hash? Won't that cause a lot of queue and improper COVID-19 protocols? Okay, Paul, she's been addressing that. Livingston says, when I use the USSD code, I was told I would receive a message. I have not received any message with any code. How do I fix that? Okay.
Okay.
Just a minute, we'll get to it. And Maxwell is asking, at what cost is this program to the state? George Eduyeboa says, please, is the registration exclusively for our SIM cards? What about mobile money registration? What will be the plight of our SIM cards registered with Ghana cards before 1st October 2021? That's George Eduyeboa. Okay, so should we start with George, or you noted the one with the USSD code 404 hash? Okay. You want to address that first?
Yes. So when we started the registration exercise on Friday, that's 1st October, we realized that a number of people were complaining that they were not able to get through. And I think that it was because a lot of people were trying at the time. So if you have actually done the *404 and you have not got any feedback from your service provider, kindly dial *400 hash.
Okay.
*400 hash. That's an old USSD code that people use to see whether their SIM cards are registered or not. If you dial the *400 hash, you should be able to get a message that will tell you your name, whether, and a unique code. Because when you do the 404, you get a unique code, and then it will tell you whether you've done the biometric capture or not. If you do the *400, the *400 hash, and you do not get any message, kindly get in touch with your service provider. And if you are not able to reach them, please call the NCA again on 0800 110 622, and then we will resolve the issue for you.
Okay, so George Eduyeboah wants to know if it's exclusively for SIM cards. What about mobile money registration? And then what happens if you registered just before the 1st of October, maybe say 30th September? What happens to it? Do you still have to go through the process?
Okay, let me take the last one first. If you registered your SIM card, if you bought a new SIM card before the 1st of October, you still have to do this *400# because that was the deadline, the day we gave for re-registration. So if you bought your SIM card the day before 30th September, even at 5 p.m., you have to do the *40.
Oh, no.
Yes, because the database has now been wiped clean and we're starting over on a fresh note. Okay. He also asked about mobile yes, yes, your MNO should be able to resolve that issue for you, especially if your mobile money wallet is tied to your SIM card. So your mobile network provider should be able to resolve that issue for you.
Okay, so when you register the card from now till the deadline, it takes care of your mobile money registration, or it's a separate arrangement? That's the concern.
Okay, so your mobile money registration, all that is actually regulated by the Bank of Ghana. What the NCA is doing is looking at the SIM card registration, but I do know that the MNOs are working together to make sure that they reconcile these two.
Okay, so that's not within your... Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you just want the SIM card registered. Anything else?
Then they will make sure that anything else is done to make sure that the whole system is clean.
It will not frustrate the customer?
No, the customer will not be frustrated.
We'll still be able to operate our mobile money whilst they work that out. It will not affect us?
No, we have a complaint yesterday from a subscriber who's been able to go through the biometric, the stage 1 and stage 2 biometric capture to the end, and the person still has the mobile money in a different way. She's contacted the service provider and they've assured that they will resolve it for her. Okay,
so we hope that it won't be widespread. Okay, so that's the response to your question, George Edu. So Maxwell is asking how much this is costing us. At what cost is this program to the state?
This is very interesting, and I'm very happy to say that this SIM registration exercise is at no cost to the state whatsoever. The only cost to the state will be the cost of the public education, which currently is being borne by the National Communications Authority. And even here, we are also counting on the MNOs to also support us in this. I'm sure you may have seen from the online platforms of some of the MNOs that they're actually sharing the communications that we are going with, that we started sharing. So it is at no cost to the state.
No cost at all?
It is at no cost
whatsoever. The NCA is not paying anything?
We are not paying anything for this.
Okay, so the mobile telecoms operators are taking care of this?
Yes.
By themselves?
No cost to government.
No cost to government. Okay. Well, that's it. Some of your questions. So Maxwell, that's the response. No cost at all. I think Livingston's question has been tackled. He used the USSD code and he was told to receive a message, and that message has not been received with no code yet. He's asking how he'll be able to fix that. That's Livingston's question.
He's asking?
Okay, so he says that he's supposed to receive a USSD code, and he has still not received it. Okay, how does he fix it?
Kindly ask him to dial *400#.
*400#.
Yes.
Okay.
And he should be able to get some feedback from the telco that will show him his name, his unique code, and if he's been able to do the biometric capture. If he doesn't get that, he should kindly contact the service provider.
Okay. Well, so there's one also from Emmanuel Halifax, also on Facebook. He's asking, can he register 5 SIM cards of the same network? He has 10. He's supposed to get 10. So can he do that on just one network?
Yes. He can do all the 5 on one network. He can decide to do all 10 on one network, or do 2, 3, 4, as long as it is 10 in total. Anybody can decide which networks they want to register their SIM cards. Okay.
So I'm told there's one question from Kwesi Emmanuel. If we can have it on the screen, then we can get a response to that. Kwesi Emmanuel, my question, will the re-registration prevent customers of these networks from receiving unsolicited text messages flooding our message boxes?
that has been one of the things that the NCA has been fighting a lot of people about. And this year, July, if consumers will remember, what we actually did was we started some public education, advising people to report these UECs, what we call UECs, unsolicited electronic communications, to us. We've also flagged a number of companies that are actually sending a lot of unsolicited electronic communications, yes. And we are working with the Data Protection Commission to engage them and let them know that there are sanctions for doing that. What I want to do is also educate our consumers and tell them that they should please endeavor not to leave their numbers anywhere. Yes, make sure that before you leave your number with any company or anybody, you let them know that you are not signing up to receive these messages, or you are not consenting to receive these marketing messages. And also for the companies who keep flooding people's inboxes with the unsolicited electronic communications, please stop. The NCA is working with the Data Protection Commission, and we will be coming after you. Now we realize that the mobile phone or communication services is a very vital service. A lot of people are using it to access government services and private e-services, and they expect a lot of text messages related to the services that they have actually consented to receive messages from banking and all that. And you get up and you get all these information from scammers and all that. And we need to be able to sanitize that. So we will be coming after them. Please, if you are harvesting telephone numbers just to send information, blast, and marketing messages, please stop. The NCA is working with data protection, and then we will make you stop. So kindly stop that.
But in cases where you haven't left your number anywhere, you know that within the period you haven't given your number out, is it not the case that the telcos are making available these data to these persons to be able to make these calls?
No,
we haven't gone into that?
No, the telcos are not making available the data.
Okay.
The telcos only send what we call transactional messages. The transactional messages are messages related to your use of the service and how you can improve or make better the use of the contract that you have with a telco. So a lot of people actually harvest these numbers. Some also generate them and just blast them out. In the future, the NCA is working with data protection to come up with what we call a portal, a do not call or do not text portal, where people can actually input these telephone numbers and then the names of people sending them the information and report them. And you can also put in your number and say, I want to be blacklisted from receiving all these unsolicited electronic communications. And it's something that we're working on. We've studied a lot from the other global regulators, and a number of them have this, and then we will be having this in place.
Okay, but once we re-register, is there any assurance that at least now that you have the real data, everything that you need, will that stop? Will you make it stop? Or you can't just make it stop by itself?
That is different from the issue of flooding the messages. That is different. That SIM register or that database is different. It's somewhere else. But the telco infrastructure and the communication infrastructure still exists. We just have to make sure that we police the system and try and stop these people from abusing it.
Okay. Kwesi, something is being done about the situation. Assure that the NCA is going after them. We'll take a quick break here on the probe. My guest tonight is Director, Corporate Affairs of the National Communications Authority. We are talking about SIM re-registration. You ought to do it. You've been telling you why you ought to re-register your SIM. And we have some time for that to happen. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll take more of your questions. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on The Probe, and welcome back. My guest in the studio today taking all your questions when it comes to SIM card re-registration, Mrs. Nana Defie Badu. And quickly, would also activate the phone lines on 0302-211-691 or 2. You can also send in or call us and ask us your questions. But some questions that we have here, Mrs. Defie, this one says, I registered my number initially with my mom's ID. Is it possible I register my SIM with a Ghana card since they are different?
Okay, so One of the objectives for this exercise is to erase or delete SIM cards which cannot be accounted for in terms of ownership. And then we also want to make sure that each SIM card is tied to a valid Ghana card. Yes, we have people who are using SIM cards that they bought which had been pre-registered. We also have people using SIM cards that belong to some family members who unfortunately are diseased or have passed on these SIM cards to them. What they have to do is to be able to inform the service provider, and the service provider will require them to go through a certain process and, where possible, submit documentation to prove indeed their ownership of the SIM card. Some service providers actually also require some people, even in the cases where the actual owner of a SIM card has passed away and the family still wants to use it, to even submit to them the letters of administration, which says that this person is allowed to use, should be able to use the phone card. So we encourage people to engage with their service providers and find out what processes they have in place to prove their ownership of the SIM card.
Okay, so let me bring in Evans. He's calling us from Medina. Hello, good evening, Evans. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Please, you can shoot your question.
Okay. Please, my question to your guest is, this exercise, is the SIM re-registration or SIM registration? Because after going through all the processes, I could see that the name has not changed. The name on my Ghana card doesn't go with the name that I have on my SIM. I mean, not maybe different name, but the position of the name, how it was. I have studied it and I have seen that there is no changes. It's as if.
But is it the same name or it's been rearranged?
It's not rearranged. I thought it would be rearranged because of how it was typed or written on the old registration. Okay.
Evans, we'll get an answer for you shortly. Let's bring in Michael from Osu. Hello, Michael.
It was typed or...
Good evening, Michael. Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Welcome. What's your question, please?
Yes, my message. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Michael, please reduce the volume of your TV set, then you can hear me well. Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes. Yes, I also have a similar challenge, just like the first caller. You know, when I dial the *400, the name is Michael Draft, all right. But on my Ghana card, it's Michael Kobina Ehud Draft. So when I try merging the two, it tells me it's compatible. I should go to the NIA office.
Okay.
I hope you understand what.
Okay, Michael, I think the point is well made. Thank you, Michael, for that question. So let's take a quick response. So they have concerns about the name. Ajiman, let me go to Ajiman and say also quickly, then we can do that. Ajiman, welcome.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks.
Good evening. Please, your question, Ajiman.
Yeah, I attempted registering my Tigo line and it indicated that it has already been registered with a different national ID.
Which is not your name?
Which is not my name.
Okay. Ajiman, I'll get answers for you, okay? Please.
Great,
Thank you very much for calling us. So Evans and Michael have a similar problem, their names. It appears that there's a problem with the arrangement of the name, and then also what is on the Ghana card is not what is on the SIM card. How do they rectify that?
Okay, so what is on the Ghana card is not showing on *400. It's not the same.
It's not the same
arrangements of name. I'll ask them to kindly get in touch with their service provider to find out what the issue is. But in actually doing the *404, what it asks you to submit is your surname and then your first name.
Okay.
Yes.
Not your middle
I am
name.
not sure if what was submitted to them excluded their middle names or if it was all their names, but just the rearrangement. So they should please do the *404, *400, and then get the feedback, take a snapshot, and then engage the service provider. If they do have difficulties with that, they should please call NCA. Our toll-free numbers on 0800 110622.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And then report this issue to us, and then we will take it up.
Okay. Ajimani Seshiri also says he tried it, and the name he's told, but it's been registered by a different name.
Yes, and that's this goes to show why the second stage of the registration is very important.
Okay.
As I said, it could be possible that somebody may have had access to his Ghana card and may have used it even do the first stage. So when it gets to the second stage, that will be weeded out. But please, Ajiman, kindly make sure that you report this to your service provider for them to flag this issue and resolve it for you.
Okay. Okay. Well, so there's this one also. It says it's fundamental to digitalize as a way of integrating our existing data. Good. But please, can we understand which privacy mitigation techniques are employed to enhancing and ensuring that data stored will not be compromised? And that from a technical point of view, at least these telecom services have vast of our data that we want to know if there's an encryption model in safeguarding our data. I'm sure that's from a technical person, and they're wondering how our data, or everything we give to them, is safe.
Our data has been with various government agencies for so many years, and with a lot of private agencies, including the MNOs, and our data has been safe. The MNOs comply strictly with the Data Protection Commission's, all their requirements and all their regulations. And of course, there are cybersecurity models and safeguards built into this to make sure that people cannot easily access the data. Actually, if you remember the ministers and press briefing, she did mention that access to that SIM registration database will be highly restricted. Okay. And so I want to assure people that their data will be safe. Nobody can easily have access to the data. The data can only be accessed on the production of a court order and as stated in the SIM regulation.
Okay, so there was a question about whether it's a SIM card re-registration or registration. Briefly, we can address that again.
All right. So, yes, it's a SIM. You're already using your SIM because in 2010, 2011, we had registered SIMs. So we'd say that this is a SIM re-registration. But because we're kind of wiping the slate off and then starting again, yes, just SIM registration exercise.
And it's established, it's only the Ghana card you can use for this?
For individual Ghanaians, it is only the Ghana cards that can be used to register. It is only when you're a foreigner coming into the country that you can use your travel card or ECOWAS card from other countries or a passport. And
then Tia finally is asking, are we all supposed to go to the service provider's office to complete the second stage?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that some telcos had even began texting their subscribers that they will be scheduling them for the bio capture. What the MNOs are also doing is that they will be setting up key registration centers, and I'm sure that they will let their subscribers know. NCA is also engaging with GIFEC, that's a Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, and Ghana Post, to find out areas or which of their offices, ICT centers, and Ghana Post have access to data and will be able to get the MNOs to go there for registration. Again, the NCA has set up operational support desk in Kumasi, Koforidua, and Tamale for the MNOs to be able to set up desks there to register people. This will be expanded to other NCA offices in other regions. And we'll give this information.
We're grateful for your time tonight. Thank you so much. Mrs. Nana Defie Badu is Director, Consumer and Corporate Affairs of the National Communications Authority. Many thanks for your company. You ought to register your SIM. Have a good evening. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. A Walk with Jesus is up next for our radio audience. I am MF Apau. On behalf of the entire team, many thanks for your company.